Chapter 7, Elmer. Mrs. Hatford stood at the door of the refrigerator. I can't understand it. I was sure there was a dish of leftover peas and mushrooms in here, and now it's gone. And lima beans. What happened to the lima beans? Jake, Josh, and Wally were doing homework on the kitchen table. We ate them, Jake said. Mrs. Hatford turned and stared. You ate them? You hate lima beans. We were hungry. There weren't any cookies. There weren't any cookies, so you ate lima beans instead? Do you expect me to believe this? Wally figured he had better head her off before the whole truth came out. We took care of the peas and mushrooms too, and then we made brownies. Well, one of us did. Well, wonders never cease. I didn't even know you boys knew how to make brownies. Hush, Peter, Jake murmured. I didn't say anything. Well, don't. There was a recipe on a box of cocoa. Then where are they? Can I have one? We ate them. All except the yucky part, said Peter. All the brothers turned and stared at him. Oh, well, I think I'll make a casserole for dinner. You boys better move your homework to the dining room table. The twins picked up their books and headed for the other room. Wally followed with the pencils and pens, and Peter set his glass of pop on the dining room table and sat down at one end. Listen, Peter, don't tell Mom that Caroline was here and that she baked the brownies. Mom would get mad. Just keep it a secret and we'll never do it again, okay? You'll be nice to her now, Peter asked. Even polite. Just don't tell Mom. Okay, Peter promised. The next morning, when Wally came down to breakfast, he saw the corner of an envelope sticking out from under the front door. He picked it up. Josh's name was on it. So he took it to the kitchen where the twins were eating cereal. What's this? Asked Josh. I don't know. It was under the door. Josh looked at the envelope. The letters of his name had been cut out of a magazine and pasted to the envelope. All the words on the inside had been cut out of magazines too, until they formed a message. Somebody really likes you. To find out who, come to 503 Main Street tonight at 7:15 and say you came to see about Elmer. Jake was reading the comics. What is it? Just something dumb. Josh stuffed it in his back pocket. Wally started to say something and then stopped. If someone took the time to spell out your name with letters cut out of magazines, it just meant something. So why was Josh blushing? He didn't say anything, however, and on the way to school, Josh hung back until he was walking beside Wally. Hey, Wally, do me a favor, huh? Come downtown with me tonight. I have to see someone about that note. Who? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. It said if I went to a certain address at 7:15, I'd find out. Why don't you come with me? I can't ask Jake. He'd make a big deal out of it. Sure, said Wally. Jake and Josh usually did everything together. Neither ever asked Wally to do anything with him alone except stuff that always turned out bad, stuff that Wally would end up getting the blame for. What Wally was thinking about, however, was what he should say to Caroline about those brownies. As they went up the steps to the school, he decided he would say nothing at all. That would really drive her nuts. She would want to think she had grossed them out. She would want to know they had spit out the peas and mushrooms. She would want to know how they had dissected every single brownie to dig out the lima beans. So he wouldn't tell her any of that. No sooner had he sat down in the seat than he felt the ruler poking him in the back. Good morning, Wally. How'd you like the brownies? They were great. Thanks. There was a silence behind him. Poke, poke went the ruler. Wally turned around. You ate them all? Every single one? Yep. And you didn't notice anything? Notice what? Well, weren't they sort of lumpy and bumpy? I don't know. We ate them so fast we didn't notice, I guess. Oh. Why? Nothing. I'm glad you enjoyed them. That evening, Jake was doing homework again at the dining room table when Josh glanced over at Wally and nodded, and they separately left the room. Outside, pulling on his jacket, Josh said, It's just somebody saying she likes me, and I'm curious. It said if I wanted to find out, I had to go to 503 Main Street tonight and say I came to see about Elmer. Who's Elmer? I don't know. Never heard of him. This was the sort of exciting, Wally thought, even though a girl was probably behind it, kind of like a detective story. What's at 503 Main? Is that Ethel's Bakery? Oetker's Books? I don't know. It wasn't either one. It was the old movie theater. You think we should just go in? Josh asked. Maybe we should knock first. Josh knocked softly at first and then loudly. There were footsteps inside and a bearded man opened the door. Hello, said Josh. I came to see about Elmer. Elmer? the man said. Ah, Elmer, come right in. And he smiled at both boys. This is really weird, thought Wally. They went through the lobby and the man opened the inner doors to the small theater. About 15 people were milling around, some walking about on stage. The thing Wally noticed first was a huge backdrop on which a woman was painting a farm scene. A horse, a cow, a barn, a field. Josh stopped in his tracks, and Wally could see that he had noticed too. The woman was trying to paint the horse's legs on the backdrop, only they were the strangest looking legs Josh and Wally had ever seen. I could paint better than that, Josh whispered. If someone would just give me a brush, I could paint that whole scene better than she's doing. But the bearded man was saying, come on, come on. And then, Jane, this young man is here to see about Elmer. I think we found the grocer's sons. And Josh and Wally found themselves being ushered onto the stage among a group of smiling faces. And there, looking almost as embarrassed as Josh himself, was Beth Malloy. Chapter 8, Hostage. Caroline could hardly believe her eyes. It worked. Her plan had actually worked. Josh had gotten the message, and he was just curious enough to come and find out who really, really liked him, as the note said. What she did not expect, however, was that Wally would show up too. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe our prayers have been answered. Josh stared at Beth, and Beth's face turned as pink as her sweater. You're Josh and Wally Hatford, aren't you? The director asked. All right, boys, you're going to be Elmer and Clyde. Josh, you're Elmer, and Wally, you're Clyde. Wally was already shaking his head and moving backward, but Josh seemed hypnotized by the scenery. That horse is all wrong, Josh said. Everyone turned and looked. It is wrong, said the lady who was painting it, but I don't know exactly why. I told them when they asked me to paint the set that I wasn't good at animals. Josh is, cried Caroline quickly. His pictures are all over the halls at school, and horses are one of the things he draws best. Josh, we really, really need you. You only have a few lines in the play, and Wally just has to hang around on stage. But could you possibly consent to help paint the scenery too? Caroline held her breath. If the director couldn't find any boys to play the part, she'd probably call the whole thing off, and there would go Caroline's chance to be in a real grown-up play. Any minute, Josh and Wally would probably bolt. Any minute, they would realize that she had put that note together. Except Josh was still staring at that horse. Yeah, but I'll have to do the cows over too. There's something wrong with their legs. It's acrylic paint. You can paint right over any work. Oh, we do appreciate you, young man. We'll put your name on the program. Now, said Jane, let's have the scene where Elmer proposes to Annabelle. And she explained to Josh and Wally the parts they would play in the story, how the grocer's lazy sons would not help out on the farmer's land. But when Elmer met Annabelle, he changed his mind. And it was then the two families came together that the town of Buckman was born. So everyone watched while Josh took Beth's hands and said, Annabelle, I never thought I'd amount to much, but when I met you, everything changed. And Beth, glancing shyly at Josh, said, with you by my side, Elmer, we can do anything. All Wally had to do was sprawl in a corner and pretend to chew on a piece of clover. Perfect, said the director. At which point, Caroline came on stage. While Elmer and Annabelle were still holding hands, she said to the audience, if they think they're going to have a wedding without inviting me to be in the bridal party, just wait. And she said it with such force and such style, the rest of the players all clapped. All except Tracy Lee, who glared at her from the first row. When the rehearsal was over, Josh and Wally were the first ones out the door, though Josh did agree to come by after school the following evening and work on painting the set. Beth seemed in a daze as she walked home. I can't believe what happened, she kept saying. What made Josh and Wally just walk in there and volunteer to be in that play? Caroline was about to tell her, but then she decided that had better be her secret. It was better for Beth to think that they were there because they wanted to be there than they had been tricked into coming. You know, of all the Hatford boys, I think Josh is the nicest, Caroline said. Next to Peter, of course. Well, he's certainly a lot different from Jake, Beth agreed. He's a good artist, too. The following day at school, Wally seemed to be avoiding Caroline, even when she poked him with her ruler and said, Good morning, Clyde. He still wouldn't turn around. Oh, Caroline thought, I better not annoy him. So she ignored him for the rest of the day. The girls had only been home 20 minutes that afternoon. A note from their mother said she was attending a meeting of the faculty wives when there was a knock at the door, and it was Peter on the doorstep. Hi, Peter, come in. Peter was not smiling. Why'd you put lima beans in our brownies? He demanded of Caroline. Aha, so the boys did notice. Because you kidnapped me and held me hostage. If they had asked nicely, I might have baked them some brownies and done it right. They were yucky, Peter complained. We had to dig out all the peas and lima beans, and Jake was really mad. Good, said Caroline. So was I. Eddie, however, sat down at the table across from Peter. You know, we can't quite figure out what's going on with your brothers. Are you guys friends with us or not? I thought you said your New Year's resolution was to be nice to us. It was. We promised Mom we'd treat you like sisters too, but Jake says you don't always have to treat sisters nice. I see. A loophole. Well, I guess if you treat us like sisters, we can treat you like brothers then, right? I guess so. Okay, I'll tell you what. You guys kidnapped Caroline and held her hostage, so we're going to kidnap you. I don't know how to bake brownies. Oh, you don't have to make them. We're just going to keep you here for a little while and give you treats. All you have to do is eat them. Get out the chocolate chips, Beth. Beth opened the cupboard. Okay, said Peter. The only thing is, you have to promise to come over here every few days and tell us everything your brothers are planning to do to us. Yeah, it's only fair, said Beth. But you can't let them know about it, okay? If we're your sisters, then you have to be good to us and tell us everything. And every time you come, you get candy or cookies or ice cream or something. Okay, Peter said. Now, did Josh tell you that he was going to be in a play? Caroline gave him a chocolate chip. Did he say I was in it too? Uh-huh, said Peter. Another chocolate chip. Did he say he liked me? Beth went on. I think so, Peter thought. What happened at your house last night? Josh said he was in a play and had to hold hands with you and get married, and Jake said he was crazy. Caroline poured out a whole bunch of chips and pushed them across the table toward Peter.